Like, how's your sleep schedule versus your last stops?
I get more sleep now than I did in my past endeavors. It's partially because it didn't matter. I used to be able to really push it from game day to almost Wednesday without showering. Now that would be obvious. I can't hide.
I love Mike McDaniel. Everything about him, he is so different from any head coach we have ever seen. And he's effective. He's 1-0, and he beat Bill Belichick. And he had that vibe there of the sophomore in high school who's given a presentation, the constant back and forth, you know. But he's great. He's just a breath of fresh air. He really is different from any NFL head coach I can think of.
You know what I really like about him, Mike, so far is that he's experiencing all these things for the first time, and he's not trying to hide it. He doesn't try to hide like his glee or his happiness or his inquisitiveness. And just look, I mean, you know, hey, look, you know, in a press conference setting, you don't rock back and forth. Well, okay, he'll learn that in time, you know, but who cares? And by the way, what's the pineapple doing there? What is Mike? What's the pineapple on the backdrop?
I think that's the Baptist Health logo. I think that's what that is.
Would a hospital have a pineapple for a logo? I mean,
well,
that's
apparently one does.
You know, hey, we're the home of healthy pineapples at Baptist Health.
It's a pineapple heavy diet that they recommend to avoid all sorts of
but
diseases.
Let me just say one other thing about McDaniel. The reason that players in San Francisco, particularly Deebo Samuel, really liked him is that Deebo Samuel used to sit in McDaniel's office last year, mid-season, and McDaniel said to him, hey, listen, by the end of this year, if you do what I say, you're going to be all pro and I'm going to be a head coach somewhere. And voila, it happened. And that is why when you tell players something like that and it comes true and everybody inside the organization knows that story and now that story travels with you to Miami, you know, that is the kind of thing where guys like Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, they all say, okay, buddy, we saw you do it last year. Let's see you do it now. And so far, he's doing it.
Oh, and they love the guy. Tyreek Hill said after the game on Sunday he's going to need a wheelbarrow to carry around not pineapples after the call that was made at 4th and 7 in the second quarter to bust the game open and make it 17-0. He beat Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Task number 2, another Super Bowl winning coach, John Harbaugh and the Ravens. After last year's Thursday night game in which the Dolphins bedeviled the Baltimore offense with the blitz, they get together again. The Ravens are 3.5-point favorites. Will the Dolphins, and this is the fascinating chess match, the Ravens surely are ready for the Dolphins to do what they did last year, and Josh Boyer is still there as the defensive coordinator. Most of the defensive players are still there. So the Ravens are going to be ready to zig in response to the zag that was done last year by the Ravens defense. Now this year, or by the Miami defense, excuse me. Now this year, what will the Miami defense do differently, anticipating that the Ravens will be ready for that zero cover, we don't know where the blitzes are coming from approach that the Dolphins used last year on that Thursday night? That's the most fascinating wrinkle, and I think this is one of the more intriguing games of the weekend, Peter.
I love this game because, first of all, you know, the Ravens, we still don't really know what to think of them because that was such a strange opener for them. You talk about teams you don't know what to think of, the Jets, but to me, the one thing about this game that really fascinates me is that you know right now that Miami really wants to turn it up on offense, and they want to unleash a great wide receiver core. They didn't really have a lot of chances to do that in the first game, and we're going to see what Baltimore is going to do on defense against Tua Tagovailoa. But I think this is a game when the Miami Dolphins want to throw the ball deep and to test a very good secondary and not just dink, 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 dink. I think Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle both have the ability in this game to go one-on-one against very good corners. And let's see if they can be this deep strike offense that Mike McDaniel in the offseason became convinced that they could be.
Well, barring a tie, one of those teams will be 2-0 as of Sunday late afternoon. As of Sunday evening, either the Bengals or Cowboys, barring a tie, will be 0-2. The Bengals are 7-point favorites at AT&T Stadium. That is still something that it is hard for the human brain to process based upon recent years in the NFL. The Bengals going into Dallas, that big of a favorite, but the Cowboys don't have Dak Prescott. They have Cooper Rush. And even though the Bengals lost in week 1, hey, with 7 sacks and 5 turnovers, and they still could have won the game a couple of times late in regulation if they make an extra point in overtime, if they make a field goal. The Bengals, I think, will be fine. I still am surprised to see -7. You said something earlier, I think, about Cooper Rush. What is your confidence level in the Cowboys with Cooper Rush heading into this game and maybe several more beyond it?
You know, I just remember the game last year. I think it was Halloween, right? Dallas at Minnesota, where Cooper Rush came in, completed whatever, 65% or whatever. I don't think he turned it over that day, and managed to beat the Vikings. And one of the things I really, really took from that game is that day, watching him play, that he wasn't afraid. And everybody said, well, of course he's not afraid. He's an NFL quarterback. But you can tell, okay? And Cooper Rush basically looked like he belonged. And that is why, look, I don't know what's going to happen in this game, and obviously I'd think Cincinnati would win too, with Joe Burrow coming back on the Joe Burrow revenge tour after turning it over 100 times last week. But I do think in this game, I think Cooper Rush is going to play well. And I can tell you this, that even though apparently Dak Prescott is not going to be out for 8 weeks, that he's probably going to be out, who knows, 4 to 6 weeks, whatever it is, that I can see why the Dallas Cowboys wouldn't be out there aggressively trying to make a deal for anybody, even Jimmy Garoppolo or less than that, Chase Daniel, whoever, because I think they have faith in this guy to hold the fort based on what they saw last year and based on what they've seen in training camps and in practice. That's why I think that Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones are saying, we're okay with this guy. We'll hang in.
Well, and look, the basic reality is next man up. If you bring in somebody new, you're changing a tire on a moving car, getting the guy up to speed with your offense, the personnel, the coaching staff. You mentioned that Cooper Rush game against the Vikings from last year. That game was the final nail in the Mike Zimmer, Kirk Cousins coffin, because Cousins played it safe in that game because it was Cooper Rush, and Zimmer wanted him to be aggressive, and the Vikings ended up losing, and that was it for Zimmer and Cousins. That's a different story altogether. Cardinals at the Raiders, both teams 0-1. The Raiders are 5.5-point favorites. Who bounces back from what happened in week 1, Peter?
Raiders. I think the Raiders... Look, the Raiders and Chargers can play 100 times and it's going to be 50-50. They're the egalitarian teams in any division in the NFL right now, in my opinion. And so the way I kind of look at this game is what team, to me, has more to play for? And you could argue, well, they're both 0-1. They both have a lot to play for. Yes, but so they both have a lot to play for. But on the other hand, what team is better? The Las Vegas Raiders are better than the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals could have a very lean year, Mike, and I think it continues here. And the one thing that we saw in week one that I think we continue to see develop, one of the things that Aaron Rodgers used to say about Devonte Adams is he just gets open. And if you watch the games last week, two of the receivers, one was Justin Jefferson, the other was Devonte Adams. You ask yourself a couple of times, man, how did they get so open? And when I watched those games last week, I said to myself, this is why Devonte Adams gets paid the big bucks. Because even though they're going to try to blanket him, he's going to find a way to wriggle free or to use his leverage to get open enough so that Derek Carr can find him. I think those two guys have a big day on Sunday.
I agree with you, and I am very concerned about the Cardinals after week one. They got blown off the field by the Chiefs. Then you have Cliff Kingsbury, the coach of the team, talking about how can you expect to perform well in the games when you're not performing well in practice? Hello, you're the coach. Why are your guys not performing well in practice, and why are you saying so publicly? I guess when you get a contract extension, you can say things like that. What are they going to do, fire you and buy you out? So I don't like the vibe around the Cardinals. I really don't. They were 10-2 last year. They're staring at 0-2 this year. I really like the Raiders on Sunday. When you look at how good the Chargers were last night, see, that's the thing. Week one, you don't know how good the team is that beat you. You don't know how good the team is that you beat. You start to figure it out. And seeing what the Chargers did last night, how they could have won that game, they're pretty good. And the Raiders were in it. I think the Raiders are going to handle the Cardinals come Sunday. Bears-Packers, Sunday Night Football on NBC. Green Bay 0-1, Chicago 1-0. They won in that swamp thanks to either failure of drainage system or drainage system overload at Soldier Field. The Packers are 10-point favorites. The big question, how much more in sync will the Packers receivers and quarterback Aaron Rodgers be, Peter?
I think you continue to see the development of Rodgers. I think this is going to take 2 months for this team to get right with Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, all of their young receivers. It's just not going to happen overnight. And you talked about it some in the offseason. This is a year that if Aaron Rodgers ever is going to show up for all the minicamp stuff so that he can throw to his new receivers, this would have been the year. And so now I think he uses practice during the week for even a slightly different thing than he's traditionally used practice. He needs to be able to have faith in Christian Watson after Watson drops on the first play of the season, which is like omen of the year. If the Packers fail, I know what the first play on the reel of their season, whatever the NFL Films thing that they used to do every year. If they were being real instead of being nice, that would be the first thing I would show and say, well, this is a harbinger of things to come. But I do think, especially with Romeo Doubs, I think by November 1st, Romeo Doubs is going to be a trusted, big-time receiver in this offense. And I think they have enough Sunday night to beat Chicago.
Well, that Christian Watson play, and I've been talking about this all week, it is a prime example of how in the NFL, where the talent is so packed together, games come down to a play here, a play there, a call here, a call there. Christian Watson catches that pass and walks in for a touchdown, and it's 7-7. That entire game changes. The complexion changes. The momentum changes. It's not going to be a final score of 23-7 if he catches that ball, and the Packers very well may win the game. The Vikings had to work their way down the field methodically to get a touchdown. And there's, boom, lightning strike, Aaron Rodgers to Christian Watson. It changes the entire vibe. Last night's call, we're going to talk about that a little bit more later in the program if we save enough time to do so. The Asante Samuel Jr. pick, if that's a pick, it changes everything. It's a little thing here and a little thing there, Peter. That's why it's so big. In that one moment, that was the opportunity for Christian Watson, and it didn't come through, and it turned a win into a loss. Can they put it behind them and take care of the Bears? And just like you said earlier, we didn't see enough in the rain and the muck and the mire at Soldier Field to draw any conclusions about the 49ers. I can't draw any conclusions about the Bears either. I don't know what the Bears are going to be, and we're going to find out. Do it again. Get a win at Lambeau Field without 6 inches of standing water, and then I'll believe that the Bears may have something.
Yeah, one other quick thing, Mike. I don't know how many games in his career Aaron Rodgers has been held without a touchdown pass and under 200 yards, but I will bet you $1,000 right now that it will not happen again this year, and probably not happen again in the rest of Aaron Rodgers' career.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.